Oh shit! Look, let me just tell y'all this: Braxton Values, season 4, episode 10. Well, no, not 10, 9. Next week is I guess it's the mid-season finale. I'm pretty sure they coming back. You know, they do this each for the past couple of seasons. You know, since they usually have like 20 some episodes all together, and then they break it up in half, and then Tamar and Vince comes on because that comes on in 2 weeks. Okay, fuck all that. Let's get on to this episode. I refuse to tweet during this episode because I felt some shit in my spirit that would have came out, and I said, no, just save it for the video. Because, listen, I just knew that Iyanla is probably at home, watching this shit. Or she gonna watch it on her DVR, and she just sitting there like, So you let a surprise, a harmless surprise, penetrate your sisterhood. A surprise! That's what I'm sitting here like. That's what it is. That's what it is. And I see last week I was like, oh shit, I don't know what's gonna happen. In a way, here's my thing. Tamar had a right to feel the way that she felt, but the girls also had a right to feel the way that she felt. No one is right, and no one is 100 completely wrong. What right and wrong? They right and wrong. And I say right and wrong because, like I said, Tamar can feel the way that she wants, and, Trina and the girls can feel the way that they want. Because we all know that there was no ill intentions behind Tracy, Tawanda, and Trina coming up there on that stage and surprising Tamar. That's one. The idea of it, the thought of it, that in itself, it sounded good. The fans in the crowd, they definitely loved it. Like when I tell you, when we was there and they popped up on the stage, of course we didn't know if it was planned or not. We was all here for it. I was like, shit, that's the sisters up there. And I did hear that. The only part that I really did hear, because, we was all into it like, damn, look at them. They going the fuck out. That's what's up. The only part that I hear was, shit, you might as well come on up on the stage. That's what I did hear clearly. All right? Now, we're going to get into this stuff. So, they backstage. They do a little press circle. Tamar already expressed the fact that she's nervous because Atlanta is like this big staple in the tour. She's just like her second home, and she do the meet and greet. First of all, when we went there, they had us up in one of the dressing rooms. We were supposed to be down there with them, so like, girl, okay, we sitting here like we looking on the monitor at them doing the meet and greet, and we like, are we supposed to be down there, or is she coming up here? Now look, a whole bunch of stuff. I'm connecting the dots, and it's all coming clear and making sense as to what happened that night and why certain stuff did not happen that night. And I'm like, well, fuck, I wouldn't. Shit, okay, you get a pass on that. Bitch was mad. There you go. And it's so fucking crazy because when we was outside, TC came over. We was kicking it with him. He kept coming over where we were. And, because we was supposed to meet up with Tamar afterwards. That never happened. And then TC was like, I remember him saying something to the fact that it's just a lot of shit going on right about now. They trying to fix some stuff out. I didn't get it. Now I'm putting two and two together, and now I know what the fuck that shit was. But, it is what it is. And, now that I know what it is, I'm actually glad we were not involved in that because I swear to God, I just probably would just continue. This is crazy. Y'all look like my motherfucking family. All right. Go ahead. But no. She do the little meet and greet. They ask some questions and all that stuff. Then they get backstage. And, they doing a little prayer. First of all, that was a long-ass prayer. Did y'all hear when she said, when she was like, when Vince was holding Logan, she said, both of y'all got y'all tongues hanging out. He was like, shit, we both thirsty. That was funny to me and cute because they both twins. But anyway, we already got on the last episode you know, she's saying that they make her nervous. And at that point, you know, and she was like, I don't want to see y'all visibly. And that's why they was sitting up there. They was sitting up top. I did not know that. And bitch, I ain't know Dr. Sherry was there. We gonna get on her in a minute. Really? Really, Tony? You suggested Dr. Girl, stop playing. Stop fucking playing. But anyway, moving on from that, they do the little prayer. Trina's already having second doubts. She's been having it from the very beginning that the you know, Tawanda mentioned having them go on stage. We're gonna fast forward. Like I was saying in some of the comments, you know, last week, Tamar had a right to feel the way that she felt in a sense because she already told them that y'all make me nervous if I just see y'all. And they should have just, in my opinion, given that it's Tamar, and we know at times Tamar can be extra and then some, I would have just bagged the fuck out of it. I'm like, that's your sister. You should know her personality. You should know this is not going to fly and stuff like that. They should have just backed the fuck out of it. But I don't feel like they were wrong in what they were doing because the intention was not, you know, malicious or anything. They were literally trying to do something good for their sisters, show a surprise, and show support. But what I was also saying is, you know, because some people's like, oh, she always talking about, you know, they don't show up and they don't support her and she wanted them to come to a show. And I said, yeah, come to the show and watch the show, not participate in the show and interrupting everything because you never know what could have went on because the stage was not that big. It really wasn't that much room up there. You know, that was one of the first things that caught my eye when I first went to the show. I was like, oh, okay, this going to be a little tight, but whatever. And so you already got 4 dancers, 2 girls, 2 guys, and they dancing all over the place, plus Tamar and all the other stuff that's on the stage. It's a tight space. Now, what if they would have came up in there and some shit would have went awry? Somebody fell, a speaker fell down, a screen fell down because somebody done bumped something. That's a hazard. You know, throwing that water on the motherfucking floor, that's a hazard too, but we'll get to that in a minute. So, you know, I'm thinking of all the possibilities as to, you know, why this is a bad idea. Even though I get the intentions, but this is a bad idea. 1, all the hazards. And 2, you know your motherfucking sister and you know how she is. I wouldn't have did it, but hey, it is what it is. I'm not even faulting them because, like I said, they didn't do it to, you know, fuck her up on purpose or whatever. And, you know, from what we saw from a fan's point of view or, you know, people that was in the audience, it looked like it was part of the show. It was cute. We was out here for it. Nothing went wrong. Thank God or whatever. Like anything of that matter. But when they showed the bottle getting thrown, you know, and then Tamar saying, "This not funny. This ain't funny." I knew right in there. I said, "Oh shit, this is not finna go right." And then I was like, "Damn." So what they were saying in the blogs and shit was kind of true. Somewhat, because thankfully, WeTV did rewind that clip, and they did show clearly that backed up what Tamar said. You know, each time that she do a show, and around this time doing Hot Sugar, she takes a drink of the water, and she throws the bottle. And that's where she throws it at, in that direction. They showed a clip where it was another show, and that's what she did. And I was like, okay, cool, because we're going to get on some stuff, because I was not, girl, we'll get there. But the way when we first saw it and they played it out the first time, it looked like she was intentionally trying to throw that water on Tracy the way that they had the camera angle. But then when they rewind it after Tamar was trying to explain to Tony what was going on, and they showed the other clip and then they showed Tracy, you clearly see she wasn't really trying to aim at Tracy. Tracy was just in the spot, or almost in the spot, because it didn't get on Tracy. If it did, it just splashed a little bit. It was on the side of her. That's where she threw the bottle. Okay, fine. I was like, because if she was really going to throw that bottle, she trifling as fuck for that one. But no, that's not what happened. She get a on that one. Okay, she get a pass. But after that, you know, they go backstage. Trina is already like, she is pissed off. I told y'all we shouldn't have did this. Yada, yada, yada. And, you know, Tawanda's like, fuck it. I thought this was a good idea. honestly, I do feel like Tamar overreacted. There you go. She over fucking reacted to the max. And, you know, I get this is your first tour. I get this is a big, you know, city. But your sisters are doing a good thing for you. But like I said, what I said already, you know, you got to play everybody's side into it. And I'm looking at it from all over and seeing everybody had a reason to feel the way that they felt. Everybody. But the actions afterward didn't have to happen. She was cussing everybody out and upset in the dressing room, and she was loud as fuck to the point that Trina, Tracy, or Tawanda, or all of them, whatever, they overheard what was being said, and I mean, she was cussing them out, according to Trina and them. She was saying, oh, fuck this, that bitch, and all this stuff, and yada, 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 and then what really set the shit off and was kind of bogus was that the tour manager came out there and told them that they all had to leave. Everybody in that area had to leave, including Trina, Tracy, and Tawanda. And because she was pissed off, you know, I wouldn't put it past her saying, everybody get the fuck out. I just wouldn't put it past her. Now, the way Trina and I knew some shit had went down because how fast they rushed out of there. I didn't see Trina and Tawanda when, not Tracy and Tawanda when they came out, but when Trina came out and with Gay, they literally didn't stop to talk. Cause nobody, they just came on and rushed on out and got into the car and pulled the fuck off. I was like, oh, okay, something happened. You know, she looked cute though. And then I seen Gay and I was like, anyway. So, you know, people's feelings are hurt. People, you know, are it was fucked up because I know Tiny was up there. Zanique and somebody else, you know, from the OMG girls, Tiny daughter, they was up there because we seen them come out and leave and walk past and all them stuff, and some other people came out, and then like when Trina and them came out, like I say a good 10-15 minutes later, that's when Tamar finally came out and they left. They fucking left. I was like, oh, okay, you know, some shit must have went down because hey, it is what it is. Even though I felt a certain way, I always feel a certain way, but you know, it is what it is. What really irked me, you got Trina, Tawanda, and Tracy talking to Tony about what happened because Tony was sitting there. She didn't get to come because she was doing rehearsals in LA. So she gets out there in Atlanta. She's talking about the show. They telling her what's going on. And I mean, when they was telling her like they was little kids and they was telling on their sister, like, I'm telling on your ass. That's how they was sitting there. And she did this and they did that. And we was like, no, but she wouldn't let us do it. That's how they was sitting there tattling. And I said, look at y'all asses. But I kind of probably would have did the same thing. It was like, see, this is what had happened. What had happened was we wanted to go out there and do the show, you know, surprise her. But she hurt our feelings because she was cussing at us and she was throwing all this stuff in front of them behind the door and didn't even know that we was listening and told us to get the fuck out. Like, girl, what? Tony was like, what? Are you serious? And I'm glad that Tony, being the big sister that she is, she did it the right way in my opinion. She didn't take sides yet. She was like, well, okay, I can't really believe this at the moment, but I'm going to have to get on Tamar's side. So she goes sit down with Tamar. I'm sitting there like the whole time. And no. I was watching it just like this. When Tamar was trying to explain when Tony had finally brought up the issue about them getting kicked out, about them getting on the stage, about what she said, about all of this stuff. And I was just sitting here like this. Girl, what? Okay, I went through all of those emotions, like all of those facial expressions too. Like, girl, stop fucking playing. Now I'm gonna keep it fucking real, and I don't give a fuck who feelings get hurt or whatever. But the fact that the matter is, I can tell when a person is trying to hide the truth or tell you half the truth to save their ass. And Tamar, was not telling the whole complete truth. Okay, she was not. I don't give a fuck what the fans may say. I don't care. You ain't no real fan if you think everything that they do is fucking right. And that don't mean just because you call them out that you not no fan or whatever, but it is what it is. I believe that shit happened backstage. And Tamar was skating around the issue and not really owning up to what she did. And when Tony brought up the thing about the tour manager telling them to leave, she was like, you don't think that was wrong? She was like, how's that my problem? And I'm sitting here like, what? Girl, some of the stuff I was like, yeah, I believe it happened because, just I believe. Like, I'm just like, why would they lie? Why would they lie? And it was just, girl, you was, you know, when you done something and you know you caught in a lie and you don't know that your parents already know that you did it, and then you try to get that lie when they confront you on it, but you don't know that they already know. So you making up these excuses and you got your lies prepared and you got your excuses prepared to cover your tracks. That's what it sounded like one time I was sitting there talking to Tony. No shade. That's what it sounded like in my ears. And I was just like, just say. Just say. Just say it happened. Just say you don't remember it. And when Tawanda was like, Trina was like, they ain't never got no apology. And I was sitting here like, I can believe. And she just brushed it off, or Tawanda said it was almost as if nothing happened because she sent her a text talking about you want to come to the club and all that stuff. And she was like, I just didn't reply. And I'm sitting here like, okay. Because I do remember the after party, and I do know that I'm like, I did question, like, damn, so, you know, the people, your sister ain't gonna show up. You know, y'all up in Atlanta, y'all ain't gonna show up or nothing like that. Oh, okay. That's why you was hanging out with, let me shut up, because I was finna throw some shade at some shots that didn't even need to go there. You know, but at some other people that was, girl, fuck all that. Anyway, so honestly, to be me, a person like me, if that shit would have happened to me and I overheard some stuff and I would have been like, oh, so that's how you feel, but then you can't tell me to my face or whatever, apologize, or, you know, at least call me or whatever and see what's going on, and then instead of giving an apology, you invite me to a club. That ain't no apology. I'm not finna show up, okay? You want to be petty? Let me be petty too. All right? That's how it's gonna be. You know, so I completely believe them over her at this point because she's not really making herself look good in this episode. Well, or editing or whatever the fuck, but you know, I'm just saying. And she gets up, no. Tony suggested that them girls go to not Iyanla, Dr. Sherry. Mind you, Trina gonna tweet, where's Iyanla when you need her? Some shit like that. I said, yeah. Not no fucking Dr. Sherry. Right when the commercial break showed that Dr. Sherry was coming. I said, And she's sitting there talking to them and they telling them what happened. And they was like, you know, it was like, I was there. I said, girl, you was there at that show. Everybody that I wanted to have some words with was there at that show, and I ain't even seen it. I was like, God was on y'all side. I'm just saying. But you know, shit like that happened, and Iyanla, wrong person. Dr. Sherry was trying to say basically that you have to see it from her point of view. And this is something that she's been working forward to be this solo artist. And now she's this solo artist. And you got to work with her over time before you get to, you know, that point where you can just pop up and surprise and do something like this. And not on her very first thing. Which I kind of agree with. I was like, okay, that really does make sense. And that's probably what, you know, Tamar was thinking about too. See, this is why I'm saying, like, you know, Tamar wasn't wrong in feeling the way that she felt about them popping up on the stage. But what really irked me was when Tawanda was like, well, you know, when she went on tour that other time, excuse me, she pulled Trina up to do a duet or whatever, and then Tracy, yep, she pulled me up to do Sing Love, and I sang Love and War. The key words are she invited or she pulled them up. She allowed them to come up because she told them to come up. That's the difference between a surprise. See, it's all in the context of the words, all right? So that really doesn't justify for what y'all did. But, I mean, it doesn't help in the defense of what y'all did. That's what I should say. But after that, they go sit down and have this, get together because basically Dr. Sherry says shit really ain't gonna work until y'all actually get together and all talk about it. And they had this little dinner with all the sisters, and this is when shit just went fucking haywire. And see, who is the editing? If I work on this show, I would have been like, don't put this part in because motherfuckers are just gonna take shit and run with it because people already think shit about Tamar that might not necessarily be true. I don't feel that way. But by the way that they put that shit out there or the shit that just came out of her mouth and, editing or whatever, I don't give a fuck. Well, that scene that we saw when, Trina and Tamar went back at it because they was talking about the song that Kenny's supposed to be doing or whatever. Nobody brought up what happened at the show. And then all of a sudden that song, Tony brings up the song that Kenny might be doing with them or overseeing. And then she like, what? And then they start getting into this argument of going back and forth. Not necessarily an argument, but going back and forth about, independent labels and, how much it'll cost. And, all of a sudden Trina gonna say 20 years. Meaning that Tony's been in this business for 20 years, so she should know what she's talking about. I would take her opinion over yours. That's how it sounded like. And that's how the argument between Tamar and Trina popped up. Now, when that happened, it was just like, I'm just sitting here like, oh shit. I ain't never really hear Trina get bucked. And Trina got bucked. It was like Tracy inherited her body and just said, took over. Her spirit just took over. And Trina went there. I was like, God damn. They really hitting each other. And, not physically, but I'm talking about with the words. She was like, read me, bitch. Read me, bitch. First of all, when Tamar was like, Tamar called her something. She was like, lies you tell, Tell, bitch. Oh, so you calling me a bitch? You calling me a bitch like the bitch that you told me to get out at your show? All that shit. I said, oh, fuck. Throw a glass and some shit. Like, look, I was intrigued. Shit like this, it excites me. So, fuck it. Y'all was intrigued, too. I was just like, this is crazy as shit. But girl, somebody finna throw something. Somebody needs to run for cover. But when Trina was like, read me. Oh, you ain't read me yet. Come on, read me. And they were just going back and forth. And I was like, wait a minute. And then when she was like, how you gonna say something when Tony paved the way for you? Oh, Tony didn't pave the way for me. God paved the way for me. I said, no, wrong response, because here you go. People is finna go crazy on Twitter. I just knew it. I ain't been on Twitter all day. Fuck it, bitch. I ain't been on Twitter the last time I was on Twitter was probably Tuesday or Monday. Bitch, I ain't been on Twitter for the rest of this week, and I don't know when I'm coming back. I don't even want to go on Twitter and look at the shit because I know the ignorance is finna come out, and I know y'all finna go in the comments, and I just don't want no part of it because words mean things. In the words of Crystal, word means things, and bitch, when you put that out there, people already want to say, oh, she don't respect Tony. She thinks she's Tony. She'll never be on the level of Tony. And then when you hear something like this is just adding fuel to the fire. And I'm just like, God fucking damn. These niggas is finna go crazy because they just be waiting for her to slip up and say some shit just to attack. And I'm like, really? That's some dumb, ignorant ass shit, but that's what they gonna do. And I mean, at this point... It was just, that's what really pissed Trina off. Like, really? Tony didn't pave the way for you? Because truth be told, like she said, if it wasn't for Tony, at this point, we probably wouldn't know who the rest of the members of the family was. Let's be honest. Let's be 100 complete honest. Okay? But, damn, I had some shit to say. I know y'all gonna have some shit to say in the commercial. It's a to be continued because once again, Tamar got up and left. Shit ain't over with. Maybe Iyanla pop up on the next scene. No, because she talking about separation and, just taking a break from the sisters or whatever the fuck. Maybe it's not good for them to work together. Maybe, and we've all kind of been saying this, y'all just need to go y'all separate ways for right now. You can't work on a project when everybody is not in sync and y'all still got these issues lingering around. And that's what y'all need to go and work on each other. Not work on yourselves first and then work on your sisterhood. Because some shit got to change. But that was the episode. Y'all tell me how y'all feel, and I'll see y'all later.